There's so much going on in the truck segment, especially the mid-size one. Now, I've just spent the last 8 days with the all-new, redesigned Nissan Frontier. I've driven it in all kinds of terrain, and I'm about to tell you what I think. I'm driving a Pro4X model that, if I do say so myself, looks pretty killer. If you remember those amazing desert racing trucks of Nissan and Datsun's past in the 80s and 90s, then you'll know what I mean. I'm pretty stoked that Nissan's trusted me with this truck to drive. I drove it in the Rebelle Rally. That's a map and compass only navigation, no GPS. Yeah, they even took away my phone. We drove around 1,500 miles over 8 days to checkpoints of varying difficulty. It's intense and exhausting, but yeah, still a ton of fun. So the exterior has seen a major redesign. It's more squared off, it's more rugged looking, and of course the wrap notwithstanding, this truck takes a lot of cues from Nissan's old hard-body desert racing heritage. I particularly like what's going on the front end here. I like the way the pieces up front fit like a puzzle, from the interlocking headlights, the body panels, and even the grille, which in this black looks well proportioned. One nitpick though, because the hood sits higher up because of this squared off shape, and it's 4 inches longer than its predecessor, it actually did impede my visibility a little bit when I was spotting while doing some off-roading. At least it did for somebody my size. But overall, this truck is more rugged looking than its softer predecessor, and it looks like it's ready for business. So let's take a sneak peek inside, because it has really changed in here a lot too. The interior of the Frontier got a complete overhaul, and mercy me, thank goodness. It was so dated. My phone screen used to be bigger than the touchscreen. Not anymore. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto comes standard on an 8-inch touchscreen, but that can be upgraded to a 9-inch screen if you prefer. Unfortunately, I never got to use any of that because, well, GPS. So the seats that used to be in the Frontier, let's call them not great. But Nissan has put their zero gravity seats in this iteration of the Frontier, and I'm a big fan of those seats. My 5'4" frame, very comfortable. I found a pretty good seating position. One thing that I would like to have had is a little bit more lumbar support in here. It's been a long week, but also just one other nitpick, the steering wheel tilts up and down, doesn't telescope. So it may be a little tricky to try and find the ideal position, but it's a lot better than it was. I can't tell you what the rear seat space is like because, well, we have no back seats. However, there is storage underneath them, as well as some air vents and charging situations back here. Yeah, so we don't have rear seats in here. We had to take those out. But there's a lot of room back here for all of your stuff. We had a fridge in here, plenty of gear, and we didn't even try and pack light. Okay, now to the bits you've all been waiting for, the driving. Well, I can say with 100% certainty that this Frontier excels from the previous model. That's thanks in part to a new powertrain that actually made its debut last model year. The Frontier gets a 3.8-liter V6. It gets best-in-class power with 310 horsepower, but it's the only option. At least it's a formidable one. The torque number is the same as it was with the previous engine. Sure, it would be nice to have a little more, especially when doing stuff like rock crawling or going up some steep terrain, but with the rear locker, which I've used 3 times on this rally, I haven't found that number lacking at all. The engine gets paired to a 9-speed automatic transmission. Now the transmission, I feel on the road, finds gears pretty easily, pretty smooth, does very well, very fuel efficient. When I get off-road, it does take a little bit of time to downshift, to search for gears, especially if I'm looking for a little bit of extra power and torque to try and rev the engine a little bit higher, which I also will say, this engine loves to rev high. It works so hard up at the high end of the rev range. So if you're looking for something that is going to get you over some really tough stuff off-road, then this one is going to be able to do it for you. So with that extra power also comes more towing capacity. In my intro, I mentioned the Frontier was almost new. That's because it rides on the same fully boxed ladder frame as before, but it's been reworked and improved. Ride comfort is definitely better over the previous model. There are new stabilizer bars in front and the rear. It would be great to be able to disconnect it when I'm crawling over something massive, but that's a pretty advanced feature and not many folks would probably need it. There are also new jounce bumpers and cab mounts, which all give you more cushion. The fact that I'm driving the Pro4X model doesn't hurt either. And the fact that I've got a Nismo high-performance suspension under here really doesn't hurt. This year my truck did get outfitted by Nismo with their suspension, but we only got it on the front end of the truck. I was a little concerned at first. I thought perhaps the back end would maybe get a little mushy or overheat, but I really had no problem with the standard Bilstein shocks that are back there on the Pro4X. Up front, we did have the extra cushion with the Nismo suspension, and boy, so comfortable up front. It gave us a little bit of a lift, so we were able to get over whoops and washboard with absolutely no problem. For what most buyers are going to be doing, they won't be disappointed in the stock Pro4X suspension. One of the best parts about the new Frontier to me is its size. Mid-size trucks keep growing, but the Frontier stayed pretty true to its previous footprint. There is a 4-inch difference in length that I mentioned earlier that's just the grille extending, but I've still got great approach and departure angles, and it's easy to maneuver even through tight spots. Agility is another key to being successful out here. Except for the Wranglers in the competition, I feel like I'm pretty small. Nissan also returned to hydraulic steering, and I'm stoked about it. There's little or no play on center like in the other mid-sized trucks that shall remain nameless, and I love the weight of it. Okay, we should maybe mention the other mid-sized trucks like the Toyota Tacoma, Chevy Colorado, Ford Ranger, and Jeep Gladiator. This is a really competitive segment, and I think that the Frontier just became a real part of the conversation again with this new model. I've been riding on a BF Goodrich KO2 tire, and this is my favorite off-road tire. And one of the reasons being, other than the fact that it is so durable, and this is my 3rd year running this tire, I have not had one problem, never had a flat, never slashed a sidewall. One other thing that I really like about it, other than that durability, is the fact that when you're driving on the road, even though it's a beefier tire, you really do not get a ton of extra road noise like you do with some other tires. Both hill descent control and hill start come standard on all 4x4 Frontiers. I personally don't use hill descent when I'm wheeling, but if you're new to it and want to focus on where you're heading, it's a very effective system. Another one for the wind column for me, I'm thrilled that the tailgate is now damped and the load height is still relatively easy for me. I am a bit lifted, but this is still doable for my short self. So I was driving the Pro4X, which comes with this great Utilitrack system, and it's actually a really great system to tie down all of your gear. One thing that I was kind of disappointed about was Nissan is actually not including the tracks that are on the floor of the bed this year. We had to pull them out of our old truck and put them in here. As you can see, I really did need them for the tire, but it's a great system and really does help keep down all of your gear, even on what is probably the windiest day that we are now shooting this video. Pricing on the base Frontier starts at $27,840 or $29,340. Add about $3,000 for the 4x4 versions of those. You can spend close to $40,000 for the Pro4X Crew Cab. In that spread, there's an option for a lot of different truck buyers. You can get a 6-foot bed on the King Cab, and a 5-footer comes standard on the Crew Cab. You can also order that longer bed on a Crew Cab SV if you want all the things. The Frontier comes standard with forward collision warnings, but if you're looking for more reassurance, Nissan Safety Shield 360 comes as part of the Tech package. Other extras include the Convenience package, which includes a trailer hitch and heated steering wheel and seats, among other upgrades. The Premium package, which is only available on the SV or Pro, gets you leather seats, a moonroof, and a premium audio system from Fender. Nissan catapults the Frontier back into the mid-sized truck segment spotlight with amazing looks, excellent tech on the inside, and great power. It also got me across the finish line, which I'm really happy about. So go check it out, and Nissan, you're gonna have a really hard time getting this back from me.